move on to kind of like a recap of this season. You know, it was definitely a season that started with a lot of anticipation. I personally thought we were going to make a run. I mean, a lot of Marlins fans get excited and that we're going to make a run, and obviously fans of other teams like the Braves and Phillies fans, obviously they laugh when we say that. But when we started off the season the way we started, we had a legitimate team to be able to make that run, and you know, it's going to come down to June. June is what, you know, that's what broke us.
It's funny because at the beginning of the season, I said, I believe it was the year before this past one, we had trouble in the month of May. And I said, if we get past...
In 2009 we had trouble in May.
Right. So I said, if we get past the month of May, we should be fine, right? Mm-hmm. Well, turned out the new month was June. I hope that doesn't carry to the next year and say the month of July would be bad, but you know, you never know. But yeah, it was basically the June swoon and just pitching. I mean, yes, injuries did take over our team with J.J. Hanley, later on Choate and whatnot, but that's what it came down to. And it's been a theme for the last few years now where pitchers have not been able to reach a certain inning after a while. They can't get past the 6th or the 7th or whatever the case may be. I mean, towards the end, you've had Javi Vasquez going further into games. But when JJ came down, you had the resurgence of Anibal Sanchez, and he was going deep into games. And then after a while, he just couldn't do it. Couldn't do it, or run support was the issue. And it's just, you know, and Volstad is just on another planet. That's...
I mean, for me, the way I saw it was there was just a lack of experience. And when you have a team so young like we do, which is not a bad thing.
No.
There's plenty of teams that can win championships with a young team. But the lack of a veteran presence in there, like in 2003 we had Pudge. The lack of a veteran like that to step up when everything's going down, that, you know, that kind of, you know, it kind of pushes the team to lower its confidence when they had such a good run. And you can tell that in the back of their minds they were thinking, when is this all going to fall apart? And that's what they were used to, because in the previous years they were all used to starting off good and then just falling apart. And the way the season started, it kind of seemed like, well, when is this going to fall apart? And that started in June. And, you know, every team has losing streaks. The team that wins the World Series this year, we're going to look back into the papers and see that they were on an 8-game losing streak. Look at the Cardinals, they thought they were out of the playoffs. And every team goes through losing streaks. But the thing is that when you go through that losing streak, for that veteran to step up and say, okay, now we got to start winning and get 2-3 successive wins to be able to get back on track. You know, we didn't have that. I mean, we had Wes Helms, but even him...
No. You need somebody on the field. You need somebody on the field.
Absolutely. Even with Tampa, you had Evan Longoria. And Evan Longoria is not a veteran by any standards. But he's going to get in your face if you're not playing the game right. And he showed that, I think it was last year when he got in B.J. Upton's face. And you got to have that. You got to have that camaraderie. You're going to have that, you know, I'm going to get in your face if you're not playing the game right. And, you know, later on we'll talk about 2012. But, you know, next year, if that happens, you know, we're certainly going to have a veteran, hopefully, but you're going to have Ozzie Guillen in your face.
Now, going back to this year, I know Dobbs wasn't supposed to be an everyday guy. But you would think, now I wasn't in the clubhouse, so I have no idea, you know.
Really?
Oh, what's up?
You weren't in the clubhouse?
No, I wasn't. I wish I was. But because I'm not in the clubhouse, I don't know what Dobbs' role, I guess, or what he did, or what. But every time they interviewed him, he seemed like he, you know, he had this team. He said the right things and everything. But I don't know how it was inside the clubhouse, and maybe he could have turned it around. He couldn't. I think.
Do you think it was any lack of leadership from Edwin Rodriguez's part?
He changed.
He changed. He was also a young manager. I mean, not young in as far as years, but young as far as
major league experience
in the major leagues, and that's could affect somebody. I mean, it didn't affect Freddie, but do you think that had anything to do with it?
Well, the difference with Freddie was he was coaching in the major leagues before that. He had experience there. As far as Edwin, he changed, man. If you remember, before at the end of the year before last, when he replaced Freddie, he was a different guy. They called him El Gallo because he would go. That's the rooster, because he would just explode, at least in the minor leagues. And then when he got to the major leagues, there were a couple times where they tossed him out because he stood up for his team. I don't know what happened this year. Did he even get tossed this year? Maybe once, twice. I don't remember.
I did like his fire a lot more than Freddie. I mean, Freddie, when he wanted to get tossed, he got tossed. But all the rest of the time, so you see him go out there, he talks to the umpire, he goes, da 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 da, and then the umpire goes, no, you're wrong. Okay, right. I'm going to walk back to the dugout
But
now.
Edwin's fire, disappeared last year, or this past year.
This year?
Yeah, this year. I can't explain it other than he was told, hey, tone it down, or I don't know what it was, or maybe it was anger management classes, but I mean, completely different manager, and maybe that had a bit of an effect on it. But
do you think obviously Ozzie Guillen has some of that fire, but do you think if Edwin had brought similar fire, maybe calling out his players on TV like Ozzie Guillen does, do you think that might have helped a little bit as far as getting these players amped up and realizing that they have to stand behind their play and actually perform out there, as opposed to we're losing 13 straight. Oh well, I guess the season's over.
I guess look, he's fiery on the field, but he's not the type of guy to me to chew out players. For some, he's just not. And in fact, I think he said that. He's the type of guy that has the positive reinforcement type of thing, and so as far as that's concerned, I wouldn't see that coming out of him unless he starts acting like it and not being himself. But as far as on the field, I think that's where we're talking. But who knows? Ultimately, I think it's success. If you have success, you keep your job. If not, you're out.
Absolutely.
So,
well, now that they signed Ozzie to a 3-4 year deal,
right.
That you were gonna have to stand behind this guy, because the Marlins aren't out there to just throw out money.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been talking to you about him, and I went on YouTube yesterday. I was watching the E60 episode on Ozzie Guillen, and you realize the guy is not that much of a, I guess people think he's an a-hole, and you don't, when you start to kind of watch him and watch him around his kids and his wife, you kind of realize that that's just a fiery guy. He just cares about the game that much. And a lot of Marlins fans really like Jack McKeon because of how much he loves the game.
Right.
And Ozzie Guillen loves the game just as much, and he cares about how his players perform. Yes, he's going to call them out on the media if they're not playing the game right. Mm-hmm. And that's all he cares about.
Yeah, he's been misconstrued maybe in Chicago and places like that, but down here, it's a whole nother ball game. Down here, fans are very, despite the fact that they may be fickle and very, depending on win or losing, they're also very, I think, fiery in a sense, and have portrayed that characteristic that Ozzie's going to bring. And so, because of that, I think he'll fit just great down here with the fans and with some of the players, maybe, I don't know. But we'll see. I mean, I'm really excited about it. I think, even though, like I said, people may not understand where he's coming from or things like that, I think we're gonna appreciate it. I definitely we're gonna appreciate his enthusiasm and his passion for the game.